will. Divine protection all up in my force field. Spiritual war is real. They wanna tell me your birthday. I gotta check the synastry. I gotta see how we can calibrate this energy.
Astrology.
Bonjour, bonjour. Yes, indeed. It is about that time to get my chart read. And this isn't the first time. It was done by a really great guy before that we're both in connects with, Rodney and I. And we'll get to that in the video. But yeah, as far as Rodney Goodwin, great man, gentleman, musician, magician, you know, the whole nine. And he's been on our show Dissolving the Divide 3 times already, and it's been fantastic every single time. Keep telling myself and even him, like, yeah, I gotta get, you know, hit you up on one of them services, you know. So finally, we're making it happen. So I wanted to share this with the world and exemplify very profound importances of how this matters so much to one's personal individual pathway. And it's, you know, I was talking to a friend earlier today about, you know, how, like, yeah, you got, you know, coaches and influencers and even mentors and this and that, but, you know, some of their programming programs or modules and teachings, it's more like and it's not all bad, of course, but to take it really further and more unique to the individual, there's got to be some astrological aspects implemented into these initiations and you know, life path orientations, if you will, and that kind of stuff. So this is why I'm doing it. These things are not a one-off, you know, and I've never done a reading of the Vedic system as well, so I'm kind of curious in comparison to that. But, you know, not to remember on, because we're going to be, you know, talking a lot during this discussion, I believe, so he knows what's up. He's down with having it recorded and this and that, and yeah, feel free to hit this brother up sometime, because it's such great value. So yeah, check him out sometime. Blue Pearl Oracle, Hardcore Productions on YouTube and .com. And obviously I'll have the links in the descriptions, and I'll throw up some little QR codes along the way. So hope you're having a great day. Alright, so real quick, I gotta give a little caveat, because, you know, what he's gonna be going into is just like advanced reading, and, you know, if you don't understand the houses and certain terminology like the trines, sextiles, and, you know, the squares, which represents opposition and those types of things, it's going to be pretty hard to follow. So I'm going to leave some, you know, cliff note, little, you know, cornerstone references, if you will, for you to kind of follow along. And at the same time, don't feel too overwhelmed by the rate of how these things unfold, because, you know, folks like Rodney are always going to be able to cater towards, like, your level of, like, gnosis, awareness, consciousness of, you know, the astrological aspects, right? And then you're going to be able to comprehend a lot much more as you follow along with the reading. So yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around this stuff, you know, so yeah, it's something I gotta just keep in mind all the time, review, and you know, it's just really insightful, because, you know, when you start to level up on your understanding of these things and you listen back to it, then you're gonna be, things are gonna click a lot more, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, yeah, and then, like, so many things that he mentions are gonna tie in so much more, type of thing, you know. So it just adds so much more depth to that understanding as well. So yeah, and, like, you can understand certain things at a soul level as well, but being able to surface that to the cognitive articulation, to the present conscious mind helps out a whole lot in our navigation of our daily activities and mindfulness of shit. So, yeah, with that said, and without further ado, hope you enjoy this.
Okay. Yeah, we're here with Derek and is it Dissolving the Divide?
Yes.
Is that your channel? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Dissolving the Divide. Yeah. Had
The
me on a
top
few times.
repeat guest we've had, Rodney. Yeah.
Yeah. So Derek
Hit
hit me up for a type of natal transit type of reading, and so we're going to get into that. I've got some charts lined up and some Chiron aspects as well going on. Your Chiron's a Gemini, so and it's in the 8th house, so it's a very transformative position. With your Chiron, that 8th house is that's a pretty powerful position with your Chiron when it's sitting in 8th house. So we'll get into that. We're going to get into your ascendants in Libra,
like
and
yourself.
then yeah, like mine, right? And then you're
Leslie.
actually your North Node is in the Cancer, like mine is as well, and your South Node Capricorn. So I thought that was interesting.
Huh. North
But
Node is in Cancer? I thought it was in Gemini.
well, let me look and see. That might be your MC line.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Your MC is in it's your MC. Your MC is in Cancer and Capricorn. Your North Node's in Gemini. Yep, that's right.
So MC, can you master ascendant, right? Is that what that means?
That's your medium coli. It's your high heaven.
It's
the place where things are 10th gate, where things manifest to. So it has to do with a lot like your choices in how you're wanting your public image to look. And kind of like where your public image would be, and then your IC line, which would be your Capricorn energy, would be like more of your private aspect. But it's interesting because Capricorn's public and Cancer is more private, so it's kind of like it's kind of like you're looking at it going, oh, wait a second, how do I bring my Cancer energy, which is kind of my private aspect, into my public life? So
I've had those inner conundrums in a sense, and
so it's kind of it's kind of like that, so to speak, So yeah, it's interesting because my MC's in Cancer as well, conjunct my North Node. So so it's like it's kind of hard to realize you're kind of giving people a peek into your private life. And then
like doing these videos, right? Fuck.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so it's kind of like that. So I'm gonna screen share the first video here, or the first
sweet. Awesome, thank you.
The first one. I use this this particular chart right here because it's a little easier to read.
Yeah.
Than the other one. The other one's I'm going to use as a transit chart. But this here is just basically, these symbols on the outside are all the planetary, kind of positions. So you've got everything pretty much on the left side of the wheel. I mean, really, it's a lot of, all your transits are running from the 5th gate to the 11th gate.
Would it be ironic that I'm not left-handed?
Yeah, exactly. So all your planets are running from the 5th gate to the 11th gate. And then your houses kind of run, the gates are running up, and then your houses are running, to your ascendant there. So you're running the 10th, 11th, and 12th gates there, and then your ascendant starts your first house, and then that runs to your 4th. So you don't have a whole lot sitting over here except for your descendant, which is sitting in Aries, but that's okay, man, because
I'm not worried.
It's just kind of going to give you an idea of, how your wheel is being presented. I'd look at this as the kind of like the circle of the magician, and these are the elemental planetary aspects that we're working with. So you got some interesting conjunctions here, that are going on that we'll get into. You got this Pluto Saturn conjunction that's really interesting.
Mm.
And then this Uranus Jupiter conjunction that's interesting. And then you do have a conjunction, it's a little more spaced, but you do have a conjunction with Venus and Sun as well.
Mm.
So that's pretty cool. Running some square energy here, which is some challenges, kind of see all those little squares right there.
Yeah, man, they're all over
You
the
know,
place.
yeah,
More squares than anything, it seems.
yeah, you got a few here on your MC here, but you've got some really nice
Mm.
trines and quite a bit of sextiling going on as well. And then you've got one major opposition here that is a big challenge, but it's
Mm.
not anything that can't be resolved. And
Sure, yeah.
and you've got a really nice conjunction here, with Uranus and
Neptune.
Jupiter and Sage, man. So so that's really very, very powerful
Mm.
conjunction right there. That's an expansion of your higher self to the ninth gate there, Sagittarius. So then also
Right.
your Neptune is setting here in Sage as well, and that's setting at 26 degrees at the galactic center. So that's very powerful quantum energy there, man. When you want to talk about your unconscious, subconscious mind field with
Mm.
Neptune and your imagination and how that's how you're wielding that, and that's setting in third house of Gemini there. So that's a lot of communication aspects there with your unconscious. So
Mm.
that's a pretty powerful position there. And then that's trined up with your sun, right here. So if you see your sun energy and you see your Neptune, you come over here, you got a 1 degree trine right there.
Mm.
So that's a very congruent, very powerful working position with your soul spark, with your sun, with your kingdom, what you're building, your kind of your ego construct, and then working with your intuition with your Neptune energies and your psychic abilities and
Mm.
your giftings there and your imagination, sitting there in Sagittarius and third house, and then that's communicating. So, and your sun's in 11th house, so you got two air elements sitting back behind your sun with Gemini and then with Uranus, or you could say with Gemini and Aquarius, with your sun, that 11th house, and then with your Neptune, the third house. So, there's shadow aspects to this as well, but
Always.
looking at the higher aspect of this, I mean, that internal dialogue with your communication with Neptune and then running that to the galactic center, and then that's trining over to your sun there with the 11th house. I think part of this is, early on in your life, with your Neptune energy setting there, could have been a really battle to really work through being able to communicate with
Real
people.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was. I
You
was
know,
really introverted, kind of
yeah,
not
yeah.
that confident, and I didn't have that throat chakra activated at all, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And with your sun setting in Leo at almost an anaretic position, it's sitting at almost 29 degrees. That's your challenge, is to be heard. Because and then taking it over, which you can't see it here, but your Chiron sitting here at 21 degrees.
Mm.
So in Gemini, so that's also a part of not being heard. It's part of the woundedness of
Damn.
that Gemini Chiron is, the ability of not to be heard and or trying to be heard and not heard, and then you pull back with your fourth house energy right here with your moon sitting in fourth house. And so that pulls back the energy to speak, because you're like, you get into the shadow aspect and nobody wants to hear what I have to say anyway. So
Right.
that sets back there with your Aquarian moon there, which is very creative, very, that Aquarian moon wants to create, it wants to collaborate, it wants to get people together, it wants to sit there and bring in the higher self, the higher aspects of your mind, with your sun setting in that 11th house as well to your soul spark. And then that fourth house setting back behind can get emotional towards things that you get passionate about. And that can and then what happens is
Yeah.
that, if you're not being heard or collaborating or putting things out there in context or being heard even as a child, that can create a woundedness then, to your Gemini in Chiron there, and then you pull back into your shell, into your your crab shell, kind of
Right. Yeah.
close the curtains,
Answers, yeah.
slowly close the curtains, and kind of have a tendency to depression can kind of come in, and tendency to want to just put your head under the covers, so to speak, or
Yeah.
sleep sometimes,
Mm.
so that can happen with that, with this basically with this fourth house sitting back behind your moon. But with your Aquarian gate, that's I always call the Aquarian gate, when you have your moon in Aquarius or Pisces,
Hmm.
the musical gate.
Oh, wow.
It's the gate of music as far as I'm concerned, the 11th and 12th houses. So wherever you have your 11th and 12th houses, or the gates of Pisces and Aquarius, I believe that those really are the powerful musical giftings. And you can see that, like, when
Wow.
you're looking at different charts and stuff, you can kind of see, pulled up a few musicians' charts, and you can kind of see where their 11th and 12th house or their Piscean Aquarian energy is. And
Mm.
you're like, oh yeah, there's where they were tapping into all that quantum energy, and all that powerful, congruent flowing energy. I mean, even though Aquarius is a air element and it's fixed, it still has the water lines,
Hmm.
and so when you're seeing those water lines, it is congruent with the 11th and 12th gates are very congruent, to that aspect, to the water bearer, right? It's the pouring out of the water, right? It's the pitcher of water pouring out on the earth. It's the star card as well, tarot, when you're looking at it, right? So
Mm.
you're
Right.
pouring that
Yeah.
water out into the earth, right? And that's that frequency. That's that, that emotion, that flow. And the goal of the Aquarian with your Aquarian moon is to be able to integrate the emotional aspect on a higher, to your higher self, on a higher level, and then but not let being able to transmute energy on a much faster level, very rapid fire, but also be able to hold larger amounts of emotion and frequency when you're dealing with things that you're passionate about, and
Mm.
not letting the emotion pull you into a polarity. Or if it does pull you into polarity, you're able to transmute it faster because you got that 11th house setting there with your sun,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to your soul complex. So that's pretty cool. And then you have this Venus here sitting here, and it's conjunct your sun. So your Venus, even though it's in a different gate, you know, this is where I like Western astrology or tropical, because
Mm.
it's still a conjunction. Like in Vedic, that wouldn't be a conjunction, but it's still a conjunction,
Hmm.
even though your Venus is sitting in Virgo, right? And it's sitting in the same house, but sitting at 3.32 degrees where your sun is sitting at 28. So you've got, if you take your sun down here and you go over to your Venus, right? You got a 5-degree conjunction
Oh, yeah. Okay.
with your Venus, right?
Oh,
So
I didn't
this
see
is,
that really before.
yeah. So
That's so pale.
this is really where all your creativity gets tapped into with your Venus. So because your
Hmm.
Venus there is sitting there with all, all your creativity, and wanting to go to nature and hear the birds sing and get out in the water and look at things and feel into things, and touching feeling into tree energy, and that's that Venus energy, man. That's that Taurus
Oh, yeah.
energy. That has to do with
Hmm.
nature. And when that's conjunct with your sun, it's very congruent in that area. You can actually tap into nature a lot easier, especially with that conjunction with your sun, than most people can.
Oh, yeah. So
You
I got a
know,
question on that real quick because yeah, my birthday is like August 21st. It's quote unquote like on the cusp towards
almost,
Venus.
almost.
Does that have anything to do with that placement near the sun with that 5-degree conjunct?
Yeah, because your sun's almost at an anaretic karmic position. So at 29 degrees. So your Leo energy, what's Leo? That's your soul spark. It's ruled by the sun itself. So you've got, like, it's like a double sun, so you've got like a double sun
Yeah.
energy with when sun is in Leo, because your facial, all your facial features are almost like a lion. I mean, you kind of look like a lion, man.
Thanks.
You got that lion energy going on, man,
Cheers,
and
brother. Yeah.
and that's really cultivating a high level of confidence and a high level of courage and strength. And so when it's sitting at 28, 29 degrees, this is your challenge, man, to wrap that up and to bring that into a very, very solidified position in your foundations of your life, and
Dang.
that's why when you're sitting here with your moon in fourth house, right, your Chiron in Gemini, and then you've got the aspects of that sitting there, and your Neptune sitting in third house, in Sag at the Galactic Center, that not being heard, it's really like amplified to you. It's not just, oh, I'm not being heard. It's like, I'm not being heard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that can bring some inner feelings. And also, just real quick, with Chiron in Gemini, yeah, sometimes I do feel kind of inclined to, share my experience that could help others with, some of like things that go through my life. I've had heartbreaks and this and that. And I've been open and willing to share and communicate to others, to be just an example, to like, hey, this is how I've been able to overcome whatever. And voila, if you take it if it helps, or not, whatever. But yeah,
Right.
it sucks not being heard. And like, we both have YouTube channels. We both get, peanuts for views compared to a lot of shit. And yeah, that shit can get us irate for sure,
It
man.
does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you're activating your throat, with throat chakra, and that's actually your Taurus energy, if you want to really look at it, and that's your second house. Okay. So if you want to really look at it, if you look at your Plutonian energy, right? Where your Plutonian energy is setting in Libra, and it's setting at 27 degrees. So when you were born in with your Pluto and Libra in first house of self. Okay. So when that came in, so when Pluto moved into Scorpio, right? During, I would say, probably, a lot of your early years of formative aspects were in first house with your Pluto, which is your unconscious aspect, right? That's all your transformative stuff. So there could have been a lot of tumultuous, actually, things that went on with you in because sitting in your first house that directly affected your unconscious subconscious mind field. Tell me about that. I mean,
I
you don't
just
have to get
remember as a
specific,
kid,
just
I
kind
don't
of
have like,
overview it.
right, just to like, in general, I just noticed that I would get really frustrated really easily. I would have like temper tantrums over just like shit, not being able to figure out something, and like thinking that I'm competent to do something, when actuality it takes more time to do something to correctly, and this and like I would want to kind of bypass some things, or think I can do it all speedy, quick, and nifty, and it didn't work out, and I'd kind of like hit the wall or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Throw the GI Joes around.
Yeah, because this can really, I mean, you got to remember, when you're looking at that first house, that's Aries, and so it can
Too
be
much fire,
very,
man. Shit.
very fiery, very challenged.
Yeah.
You can have a really a short fuse with your temper as a kid, that type of thing. And that can be a real challenge, especially, with Saturn sitting in your first house. And Saturn is sitting at an anorect position in Libra at 29 degrees. So there's big lessons because your ascendant is sitting there too, as well, right? So your ascendant sitting at 20 degrees. So you've got a slight conjunction with your ascendant, with a 6 degrees with Pluto. So you've really come in to learn about, relationships and partnerships are huge challenges, man, and in your life.
Oh, shit.
And because you've got Saturn sitting at 29 degrees Libra, and it's sitting in first house, the challenges are to yourself. to your own internal dialogue, because your Neptune's sitting in third house in that Gemini area where all the illusion can run. And so when you're looking at relationships, you can be naive at times with relationships because it's like it looks like one thing, and Saturn's giving you a limitation, it's giving you a delay, it's giving you a challenge, right? 29 degrees, and it's karmic aspects. So most all of your relationships are karmic in nature, man. That means they're coming up for review from past incarnations, from past aspects. They're coming up for review in your life, coming back around so that you can rework the energy and then learn the lessons of Libra, man.
Wow.
And that's why your integration is the Libra ascendant. See?
Damn. And one of my ex-girlfriends, it just didn't work out because of first and foremost, we didn't have a real fair go at it because it was during the dawning of the Rona and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I spent a month in Australia with her. It was great, and had such a beautiful soul connection. And she's kind of like a Tala Linden, actually. Has some
Nice.
really
Yeah.
deep gnosis and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
she was, looking into my soul a good amount, and she seemed to think that we had, some kind of partnership or something like that in previous lifetimes,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's I mean, and with your Venus sitting in Virgo, man, that is kind of a, sixth house is the house of the karmic cleaner. I see Virgo as the
Mm,
karmic cleaner. It's the service to others. And so
okay.
when you're looking at the service to others, then you have to go to your eighth house to see what's transforming that, because the sixth and the eighth house are Virgo's kind of like the Earth Scorpio. It's transformative, but it's also the karmic cleaner in context to service to others and what you're actually, how you're actually affecting relationships and other people. And then the eighth house is the transformer to that, of how you're wielding that correctly. And so when you're looking at your eighth house, what's sitting in your eighth house? Your Chiron. See? And
Oh,
we'll get into
snap.
that later because that's very important, because that's your wound, but it's also where your gift and where you're flourishing as well. See?
Hmm.
So once you are able to work through the karmic aspect of relationships, see, then that and you look at your Chiron and you heal that Chironic wound aspect, then that transformative Plutonian energy is going to transform, and then you're going to come to your ninth house where your Jupiter sets, and that's where things get activated. See, because
Oh, wow.
Jupiter's at home with you. You've got Jupiter in its home gate of Sagittarius, and
And
it's conjunct
Sagittarius is
with,
my south node, right?
yeah, with your South Node, and your South Node is actually conjunct your Neptune, because
Hmm.
your South Node's sitting at 21, your Neptune's sitting at 26. So you got a 5-degree conjunction with your Neptune, man. Right? So with your Neptune sitting there with that 5-degree conjunction, I'm gonna say that with your South Node, we'll look at it on the other chart.
Sweet.
But it's that's very, that's really bringing things into a space where your healing of your South Node, or your past in context coming in, is the Sagittarius energy, man, where you've been hurt by teachers, you've been hurt by we call quote unquote gurus, or religion itself, man, in your past incarnations, because of that South Node sitting in Sage.
Oh,
See?
wow.
And so with the South Node sitting in Sage, you could have been caught up in the Abrahamic construct pretty easily, or any other types of religions that were, drawing you into a space where you were seeking out mentors. And then
Hmm.
when you seek out those mentors and then they let you down. So you've got this wound sitting there, this karmic aspect on your South Node sitting there that needs to be really dealt with. And what is Sage, Sagittarius? It's the great traveler. It's the world traveler, man. You know, it's the guy or the girl who travels multiple countries and goes around to all these different places and seeks out all these different avenues of learning and higher knowledge. That's your South Node. And yeah, and so, you know, when you're sitting there, when that happens, you know, you're just like going, okay, all right, so, you know, we have to gravitate to that North Node, which is in Gemini, where, you know, we are establishing more of a, you know, to healing, we're establishing more of a local type of energy, where it and communicative type of energy, where you know, where Sagittarius would be long distance travel and traveling the world, Gemini would be short distance travel and local. So that's kind of how those axis points are kind of oppositions of each other. Well, they are oppositions to the 3-9 axis. So the 3-9 axis is one of the hardest axes to navigate. It really is a difficult one.
Damn, man.
Because I, you know, I have that on my on mine as well, on my North and South Node.
Oh shit.
And
does
so,
that involve
you know,
a lot of mind travelation from
it is, man. It's a lot of working through this.
Fuck.
You know, especially if it's on, you know, you got it on your South Node, so it's a lot of working like this back and forth with your mind, you know, and the internal dialogue and everything that's happening inside, and trying to find balance with that to that 7th gate. And that's why your ascendant in Libra is sitting there, but that's also your challenge on an anaretic position with Saturn. So that has taken time for you to work through things on an internal basis to find your confidence with your sun, you know, up here at 29 to 28 degrees, 29 degrees Leo, sitting in the 11th house of collaboration and sovereignty and the rebel and not wanting to conform, and then being like, oh man, how come you're not doing it our way? And then you're like, oh, I don't give a shit about your way. I'm thinking outside of the box. So I have my sun in 11th house and I got my moon in Aquarius. I don't think like you do.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah.
See, but you got to accept that part of yourself. See, that's the thing. And that's where you're going to find your confidence, is that 11th gate where your moon is setting and where your sun is setting, because those aspects that are sitting on the houses that are magnifying your gate can be your shadow. See? So when that 11th gate's getting activated and you're finding your sun, you're finding your kingdom, right? Your Leo kingdom, my lion kingdom, man, right? Wow. You're finding that you're actually bringing that, you know, your soul expression, you know, you're having fun, because 5th house is about fun. 5th house is about soul expression, passion, you know, finding your strength, your courage, your will force, you know, you're building your kingdom, you know. When that starts to happen, then that 11th house kicks in, and that's the air magician, man. That's bringing all the bolts and nuts and bolts of the 10th gate, where your Mars action is setting, right, where your 10th house is setting, and that's bringing all the nuts and bolts of everything together, all the stuff that you're manifesting, and then bringing it into a project, putting it all together into something it's going to form something that's going to be able to be like actually rolled out, like into, like, you know, the whole nuts and bolts of things. And so when you're collaborating, it's you're meant to collaborate on a partnership level, because you have a Libra ascendant and your Venus is conjunct your sun.
You know, what's funny about that is that, you know, after I was married for about 9 years, was with her for 11. And after that, you know, I went through a spiritual awakening, you know, when we were married and this and that. She never had anything like that. So we kind of had paths kind of split apart.
That's
but
a
ever
karmic
since the
aspect.
divorce, I was like, I gotta be with a partner that's like into this, you know, podcast.
Yeah, and that's
like
that 6th. That's that Venus in Virgo, man. You know, that you were dealing with right there, man. That was a karmic aspect. But think about it like this: that actually was a part of a spark plug that helped you to go to your awakening.
Yeah.
Even though you had to go through that time, you know, that actually was something that helped the karmic aspect, or the aspect of your Virgo energy, come online to your Venus, so that you can start to actually have a transformation to the higher self. It was part of it, you know, and that's
Totally.
you know, that's that Venus and Virgo, man. I see Venus, people have Venus in Virgo. I'm saying, I'm sorry. But it's good for you. You need it, you need to have it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I learned tons of
So
lessons from that. So yeah.
it is, yeah, exactly. So when you're sitting there and you're realizing that, you're going, oh wow. So then you've got this really, I mean, you look at your Venus, man, conjunct your sun's conjunct your Venus, and then if you take your sun down here, you know, you have a little bit of an aspect here because with your Jupiter. See, so you take your sun down to your Jupiter, and you've got a three degree square
Mm.
and a 1 degree square with your Venus. So this is really there's a lot of tension with your expansion, with the 28, 29 degree sun, and then with the Venus conjunct that, trying to bring getting your Jupiter online. There's lessons that you had to go through, man, that were really intense because you got this really intense square going on here with this. And so it may have felt like that, this first part of your life has been really a struggle to get things like going because that Jupiter is sitting there and it's tension. There's tension with Jupiter, man, with your sun, with your soul spark, with your ego, with what you're trying to do, and then with your own personal self-worth, and then dealing with your own self-love and self-validation, and then trying to wield a relationship with that as well has been a lot of lessons, and it's been a lot of because you got that Saturn in Libra, it's been a lot of pullback,
Yeah,
and a lot of limitation because of that.
yeah, that Saturn on the 29th degree is always coming to mind. Like Sethicus kind of broke that down for me a little bit over a year ago. Had a great session with him, but yeah, so yeah, those things kind of make a lot of sense and confirm just so much of what I've gone through in my life, and the hard road has kind of been. I've had to learn the hard way quite a bit in a lot of
Well, it's okay though,
endeavors,
man.
whatever.
But
Yeah.
see, this is the thing though, man. When you start to actually work with your Saturn and you start to flip the energies from being that, the lower based aspect or quote unquote devil card, to the actual when you want to take it up to the lover's card in
Mm,
context, right? Where things are congruent and moving, you're flipping the Saturnian energy in context. See? And so you're taking the lessons and the limitations and delays and using them as fuel. You're using them as fuel to fire
exactly.
your passion.
Boom.
See? And with Plutonian energy sitting back behind it, there's power behind that now. See? Because that's conjunct in your first house. So there's a lot of power base going on with transformation with this because you said, I am going to transform this time. This time. And so you came in with Pluto conjunct your Saturn, man. You're like, I'm going to transform these limitations, these delays, these karmic aspects. I'm getting it done in this incarnation. I don't care. See? And so when you're driving that narrative to your first house, that's why your formative years, being in first house Pluto, for that first those formative years, man, whoo, and then going into Pluto and Scorpio, that was very, very, very difficult to go through. Your first 7, 8, 9 years of life were like really a challenge for you, man.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest, growing up, I mean, I lost my virginity when I was 19 years old, which is way below average amongst my peers at that time. And yeah, like just having so many inner conflicts, lack of confidence in myself, and this and that, and also just realize like, hey, like I'm just gonna kind of play it safe or like take a knee sometimes, just because
Well, and that's
I don't
because
know
you,
what to get
you
into.
think about it like this, man, because during that period of time, Pluto was transiting your second house, which is your physical world,
Huh.
your physical body. It has, everything to do with, like sometimes people that when that second house is being transited by Pluto, they don't like the way they look. They're like, oh my God, I don't even like what I look in the mirror. I don't even like how I look. I don't like anything. It's like you had this challenge in your head to start loving yourself, man, you
Boom.
know? And so that second house, when that Plutonian energy, was basically trancing your teenage years, man. I mean, that's what was going on, you know. And so, so you're trying to really, transform, your confidence and trying to find some footing somewhere that you could stand upon, you know. And so that can be very difficult sometimes because I mean, it's kind of hard because that second house is a real challenge um with anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Because it's not just money, or wealth or finances. It's also your self-worth and the strength of that self-worth and not getting validated by your parents, man.
Ooh.
That's fucking huge. Because if you don't got that validation, man, growing up by your father and your mother, then what happens is that you got to find it somewhere, and that's what you're searching for. That's what your soul's searching for. See? It's searching for the validation of something outside of yourself. And that's why your parents have to be, they have to be the ones that are setting that foundation for you as a child. That way that you actually have, you actually have that foundation sitting there, and it's much easier to make that jump through that second house and through that second gate if you have that. And if you don't have that, then you're searching for it outside of yourself, and then that's when the relationships go south because now you're projecting that lack of self-worth onto your partner or onto someone you're dating or partnerships or whatever it may be.
Yeah, totally. And that goes into shadow work, as we all know, and all that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I like to give people their Plutonian aspect as they were growing up and stuff because that's a very powerful. I mean, I had the lucky privilege of having my Pluto start in 12th house. So hey, man,
Oh, wow.
I I'm seeing ghosts and demons and shit, man, as a kid, and like, what the hell am I,
Man.
because it's sitting my Neptune, man, sitting in my 12th house with, growing up in my first 8 years,
Holy shit.
before it went into my first house. So I was like, I'm like looking at, I'm hearing things and I'm talking to crows and ravens and, like
Wow.
telepathic shit. I don't know. It's crazy, man.
Damn, Rodney. That's crazy.
So anyway, so yeah, so just getting on. You got any questions so far, man?
Yeah, I've heard some people talk and give some validation as far as, what I've seen within my own life, but what's your take on the whole Saturn's return?
Your Saturn return?
Yeah, or just like in general.
Okay, so the Saturn return, yeah, that's just big changes, man.
Is it when someone kind of like comes into their own and like reaches a certain maturity
The
type of
first
thing,
Saturn
or?
return is really a review of what you've accomplished and what you've learned that first 30 years of your life, 29, 30 years. And then Saturn sets you up for the next 3 to 5 years to go through the process of what you really still need to, work on. But the things that you have worked on that you have kind of flipped become more forefront. So you're able to actually have some working going on that is, that's going to be let go of, like a catapult. Like, okay, I can let you go on some of this stuff, but I'm still pulling you back on this stuff. And that first 30 years, that's, that first, you could get a divorce, you could get married during that time period, 29, 30 years old. You could have big life changes geographically, changing locations of your life. A big job career thing could come up during that period of time where you actually move or you have a change in your career during that time period of your Saturn return. You could also like have a dependent on where Saturn's sitting. If Saturn's sitting in Virgo or in sixth house, you could have some areas with health that you're dealing with during that period of time when you're having your Saturn return as well. So there's a lot of aspects to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had my grand awakening or whatever, like on a frequency level, back in 2012, and I was like 20, 29 at the time. So yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It makes
Yeah, but
sense.
yeah.
It's setting in first house, so it would be, it would be very pertinent to, trying to get you to awaken your Mars energy,
Mm.
you know,
It was violent, man.
and yeah, and
Like,
and your Mars energy is sitting here at it's sitting in 10th house, man. It's sitting in your Saturn gate, man. So that would be why. Because it's setting in the 10th house of Leo. Your Mars in Leo is all about finding finding that direct strength and passion, and your warrior aspect, your lion, man, context, and finding that strength. But you've got this opposition with your mind, with your moon. So it's taken you longer than the average person because of this opposition that you're trying to work out to find your confidence and strength to step out and be heard. And that Mars energy, once it's think of Mars as like a training warrior, you know, or a gardener, so to speak. You know what the old phrase, I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war, type of thing, So,
totally.
you're looking at that aspect with your warrior Mars, first house, Aries, energy, your Ram, your Lion, right? You're looking at it going, okay, I am here to bring my confidence online. And that's why that Mars energy is sitting there in the same gate as your sun, because it's really holding the energy of the gate, the Mars energy, because it's at a lower, degree. So your Mars is like a cup holding your sun. So think you got your Mars energy and you got your sun sitting inside your Mars, like
Oh yeah,
this
wow.
cup, right? Where all your passion and emotion and everything is. Even though they're in two separate gates, your Mars is sitting in that 10th gate. Just your public image, it's your public life. It's that 10th gate has everything to do with your manifestation of your reality field. And so that Mars energy becomes very powerful, but with the opposition to your mind or your moon sitting in that fourth house, it's the emotional intelligence that you've got to cultivate to that fourth gate in context to the Cancer energy, bringing your Aquarian moon online, the ideas that you have going on in your mind, in your life, and then having the confidence to put them into action with your Mars and Leo. That's been your challenge, see? That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it really wasn't until I had like the floodgates open and like that explosive heart chakra energy
Right.
opening up the higher levels, and then yeah, I felt like really confident to voice mine.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't have
And
like the head mind things, on the negative dark side of the moon, or if you will, kind of thing. Like,
right. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, any color you like, right? I mean, that's kind of how the dark side of the moon works. You're not, it's a song on Pink Floyd's album, Any Color You Like. And it goes and then there's brain damage and eclipse. So you're just like going, okay, I'm damaged. I have this opposition going on, but what do I have to do to resolve it? Oh, my Libra ascendant,
right.
my Pluto in Libra in first house, my Saturn setting in 29 degrees first house Libra. This is how I resolve the opposition, by finding the balance in the fulcrum between my ego, my Mars, and my Sun here, and my Neptune, which is trining here, right at my galactic center. And so my intuition then comes on, and I'm spark plugged by the awakening of my higher self, Uranus, with my Jupiter, that's expanding all the energy, right? And that's sextiling over to my moon right here. So they're communicating, right? So I've got a communication with Jupiter. I've got a communication with Uranus here in this conjunction that's sextiling to my moon energy. See, my problem is this opposition to my Mars. See, That opposition is driving me. It's cutting me off to putting things into action because of my lack of confidence. So your second house then becomes very powerful to find that self-validation, because once you start really cultivating a high level of self-validation and self-worth, self-control, self-love, your Jupiter is going to come online because it's sitting in that second house. See?
Yeah, definitely.
And then that's where your sage comes on. You become a sage, you become a teacher. See, because now your Jupiter setting, the teacher is setting in the house of the teacher with your South Node setting there as well, right? And so your South Star then comes online, starts to heal. You start to find your confidence, and that's why your Sun is sitting in an anaretic position in Leo, because that's the challenge for you.
Damn. And so,
you see how that all? You see how that threads?
Yeah, totally. And I was anticipating you threading it to the North Node in Gemini.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there because
sorry,
I'm gonna work that with your
yeah.
Chiron, because your Chiron and your North Node are in the same gate.
Yeah, that's quite a conundrum, or what?
Yeah, right. So it's okay though, man. I mean, it is what it is.
C'est la vie, as we say.
Yeah, right. No, that's right. It is what it is, But that's the beauty of the gates of the wheel, is that it's going to reveal to you, once you learn how to read this thing, it's going to reveal to you how you're going to access a higher level of magic. This is what we call planetary high magic. That's what this is. That's what I'm teaching. It's what I teach. I teach planetary alchemy and transformation to become a mage or a magician through the idea of planetary high magic.
Yeah.
This is the secrets of astrology, of the solar spiral, and dealing with the actual gates the energies that you're in, that you're templating, it's working with. Does that make sense?
Total sense. And we got to master the solar before we can get beyond that to the universal.
And that's part of my teaching. Why I came in. What I'm doing is I'm helping people find their solar spiral first. That's part of my my service to others, my sixth house. So I have my moon in sixth house. I've got my Pluto in Virgo, which is the sixth house, and I've got my Chiron in sixth house as well. So my soul's one of my soul's purposes is to go ahead and pick up my understanding of it, and then being able to teach others in service to others. So
greatly.
All right, let's pull over to let's move over to your Chiron and Gemini challenges here. Okay. Chiron and Gemini. Well, first of all, let's go back here. Let's go back. Hang on. Okay, this is your Chiron. Kind of looks like a key.
Right, yeah.
Right there, yeah. So your Chiron is setting in your 8th house in Gemini. It's a very powerful position for Chiron, actually. The 3-8, that Gemini is a very powerful, communicative aspect. And then when it's sitting in that 8th gate, that's very transformative, So, and then your North Node setting in the 9th house of Gemini, which, this is your fire magic, man. This is where your wand of fire is being hailed, is being accessing it. This is why navigating towards your North Node is very important, and healing your Chironic aspect is very important, because your South Node sitting in that wand of fire of Sagittarius, right, in 3rd house of Gemini. So controlling the hemispheres of your brain and finding your balance is so important to the healing of your South Node. and your karmic aspects that what you came in with.
Because those
So
Gemini twins like to fight amongst each other.
yeah, it's like this, you're fighting yourself inside yourself, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, but I really love what you said, and I've honestly had just like inner inklings of just moving towards doing those exact things that you mentioned, man. Oh man, I love it.
right. So I just wanted to establish where that was at. Okay, now let's go over here. Chiron and Gemini is the gift. Oh, that's the gift. We don't want to do that yet. Challenges. When Chiron is in Gemini, the wound is to your ability to communicate and make yourself heard, which may manifest in the following ways. You feel unable to communicate clearly with others or fit in socially. Sometimes you feel stupid and uneducated and see others as being smarter than yourself. Find it hard to believe in your own ideas, thoughts, and gifts. Tendency to put others down for being intelligent or articulate. Tendency to gossip or gather information to boost your own self-esteem, and hide your knowledge and skills due to shame and the fear of being compared with others. So these are just a few bullet points. There's a lot more when you're looking at Gemini and your internal dialogue. But what this is really, boiling all this down, the comparing yourself to others is a big aspect to this right here.
Yeah.
And so growing up and then seeing somebody accomplish something or doing something right like that, sometimes it can be like, well, why can't I do that? Or how come that doesn't happen to me? Or life isn't fair? Or why is it that, that person got this and I don't get this? And, so you start running all these programs inside your brain, inside your hemispheres, and it can give you that inadequacy feeling, like, well, this guy's smarter than me. I'll never be that smart. And these are all the things you say to yourself inside of yourself. All that crap,
Yeah.
And then
some things, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, those were like some of those are old school. I was able to kind of get over the hump on
right. Yeah, this is part of the healing
shit,
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you go through within your own mind, And when you're dealing with your own thoughts, your own voice within yourself, how do and I always ask people, how do you communicate with yourself?
Right. Yeah.
Because, think about it. That's the most important relationship you'll ever have
100%.
is your own self. How do you communicate with you?
Yeah.
Because when you hear you're hearing your voice. So you're communicating with what? With yourself. Right?
Yeah, and having a proper relationship with yourself, that
right, and then being able to discern the voice of the higher self and the higher force, and then being able to the God self, right? So that's that 8th house energy then, where your 8th house is sitting, which is the trickster energy when you look at it in context, right? This is the 8th gate. Chiron, the 8th gate, shows that your unhealed wound is to your power and sexuality. It may manifest through the areas of finances, mortality, and hidden matters. Encountering with death early in life, perhaps a birth trauma or life-threatening illness. Fascinated with death and your own potential destructiveness. Personal growth experience as a life or death struggle. Difficulty achieving financial self-sufficiency. Controlling and protective to hide your vulnerability in relationships. Power struggles in relationships that are experienced as all-consuming and passionate. Relationships trigger primitive emotions of rage, jealousy, or fear. Sex and sexuality may be experienced as a wounding and or healing. Fear of your own power and difficulty taking control of your own life. This is all that 8th house energy that's setting back behind it's very trickster energy. It's very, like looking at something and then something becomes comfortable, right? and then you start to feel into that, but then all of a sudden it just morphs into this weird feel, man. Like, where the hell did that come from? What that was back behind there, I never saw it. I didn't see it, you know? And that's that wound. See, that's that place where you've been your soul's been cut, your auric field needs to be sealed off. That's where things hook into in context. See, and it has a lot to do with relationships because of your Libra ascendant, and then with your Saturn sitting there as well, in first house. So that has a lot to do. So relationships become like a huge forefront thing that have a tendency to trigger you. So this is why anytime when you forming a new relationship, you've got to test it. You've got to test the relationship. You got to test the energies, what's coming into your field, because is it coming in on a karmic aspect? Is this a karmic relationship that's trying to come in and attach to me? How am I seeing this from afar off as it's coming in? This, whatever it is, right? Or is this something that, that is going to be for my highest good, and it's going to actually be a transformative aspect for my life?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the ladder with this new flame that I got right now, actually.
Yeah,
Older woman out
right.
here in France. She's trying to open up a door for me at a holistic healing facility where she works at, doing acupuncture, hypnotherapy. She's given birth to like 9,000 babies into this world as a midwife.
Damn.
So yeah, and yeah, the intercourse has been much more healing than anything else. But I've had
That's great.
my thoughts of like, is this a karmic relationship right now, kind of thing? Because she's going through like a divorce right now with her husband, so it's kind of
Oh, right. Yeah, that's tough.
compliqué, man. Yeah, but
Yeah, and
but
that's part of
it wasn't
the
because of
ask.
me though. But
Right. No, but it's kind of the aspect that when you're looking at something like that, you're going, okay, all right, there's this good stuff, there's this stuff that's awesome, right? But then there's the shadow stuff that still hasn't been really, like dealt with yet. I totally understand. You know what, man? It seems like Libra ascendants get into that shit.
fuck, man.
I mean, I know that from experience, man.
Oh shit, really? Yeah, I
I
don't know.
don't know why that is.
Huh?
It's just funny, man. I
Yeah.
mean, kind of the girl I'm seeing now, it's the same thing,
Mm.
but it's working. I mean, we're actually working. It's actually a working, good relationship. But of course, you've got that Aries descendant, man, right? I mean, when you're looking back at your chart, see, you got that Aries descendant right there, and it's funny because I have the
Huh.
same Aries. I have the same Aries descendant.
Oh
Well,
wow.
the woman my girlfriend has an Aries moon. So
Huh.
it's like, I am, and this here is your seventh gate, man. This is the relationships that you pull in. It's Aries, man, Mars energy,
Mm.
see? So I pulled in an Aries moon in my relationship, see? Isn't that interesting?
Very. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy how this works. So you actually have good relationships with people who have a lot of Aries energy, man. Believe it or not. Even though it's your
Cool.
descendant.
Yeah. My sister's
Yeah.
an Aries, so yeah.
Yeah, so you actually get along with Aries people very well. I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a real kind of rapport with people who have good Aries energy, um for some reason, and that's because my descendant is sitting there, and that's your seventh gate right here.
My
So,
ex-wife was Aries or no, I think Taurus. She was April 30th. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, she was wonderful. I praise all the women that I've been with. They've been such great teachers for me and kind of like
right.
activators in a sense. Yeah, just sharing that beautiful love and amplifying my own love for myself in a sense, and not trying to let it
Right.
inflate that negative side of the ego. It can be pretty easy for a Leo, right? But yeah. Anyways.
Well, when you're going looking at your Leo energy, I mean, you got to look at, okay, so your Aries is sitting here when you're looking at your fire element. Aries is sitting here in your descendant. That's relationships. That's the 7th gate, partnerships, right?
Mm.
And then you've got your Leo, 5th gate energy, your Leo energy. You got your Mars and your Sun setting there. And then you go over to your 9th gate. You've got your Jupiter, your Uranus, and your Neptune setting in that 9th gate. See, so that you know that 159, you know, with your fire element, you know, it builds, you know, it's building, you know, so it's running, you know, running the initiatory or cardinal energy to relationships. And then, you know, the fixed energy of Leo, then, because this is cardinal, that fixed energy of Leo with your Sun and your Mars is really solidifying your confidence, man, and your strength and your courage to, you know, to access your higher tapped into your higher, you know, galactic center with your Neptune, your Jupiter, and your Uranus sitting there as well, you know, powering that energy into a space where you're actually holding that wand of fire, the, you know, elements to your fire magic, to your actual, you know, what you're actually passionate about and putting into action from your higher self, which is that 9th gate. And that's taking it right through that 10th gate with where your Mars is setting. That 10th gate is where your manifestation comes forth, right? So you're either going to be limited and not having any manifestation, or when you're working with your Saturnian energy, which has everything to do with the relationships that you're wielding to, you know, in your life with the Saturn energy in 1st house, right? That's how you're transforming and bringing your wand of fire back up online. See, because now you're trying to take that 10th gate on, you're taking that 10th gate on. See, where you're pushing up against that 10th house, you're pushing up against that Saturnian energy to get it transformed. And with that 8th house of Pluto sitting back behind here, and then your Chiron in 8th house, you know, that's bringing that transformative aspect to heal your wounds, you know, to heal relationships, to bring those, to learn those karmic lessons, to see them for what they are, and then to realize that, oh, I don't have to do that anymore that way. I can be who I truly am, you know, who I am, a sage, I am a magician, I am a shaman, I am these things, right? So I can bring those into the relationship now. I don't have to go to any of the manipulation tactics or try to be something that I'm not. You know, bringing your authentic self online so that then you can take it to your 11th house, man. Now let's look at your Mercury, because we really haven't looked at your Mercury yet. And then we'll go back to the Chiron. So your Mercury, where's your Mercury setting? It's setting in Virgo, okay? But it's setting in the 12th house. Right here. Just came into the 12th house.
Right.
So you are 25 degrees, 12th house Mercury. Let me look at something here real quick.
Yeah, take your time. So Mercury the messenger and all that with the feet.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
How's Mercury been misappropriated, I guess? Because Mercury is also equivalent to, some people say, Hermes, right?
Yeah, it's the messages and messengers. It's also your uh it's also your oh no, your Mercury's in 11th house, just on the cusp. Okay. All right.
Oh shit.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay, got it.
No, just
Okay. Yeah, so Mercury's like your ancestral energy.
Oh, okay.
So it's where your bloodline runs, and then it's also your nervous system. When you're looking at you know, kind of how Mercury runs. And then, you know, it's also your communication, because it's running the Gemini gate. But you got Mercury and Virgo, that's also a gate that it's running. I would say that Chiron also runs the Virgo gate. So when you're looking at your Mercury at 25 degrees and it's sitting in the 11th house as well. Okay, so this gives you a really interesting position because, you know, the Virgo aspect, and then sitting there in the 11th house, you know, that's all that's all your Uranus energy. Okay. And that really is, when you're looking at the aspect, what's happening here? It's squaring off with your Neptune energy. So it's trying to communicate your imagination and what you're seeing and integrating, and your imagination and all your intuition and all your psychic abilities, and trying to communicate those. But there's a cutoff there. It's like there's like a, you know, like it goes back to not being heard again, you know, where, you know, okay, so what's the point of me saying this? You know, other people say it better than me, you know, that type of shit.
I got a
You
question
know?
though. Would this work on the microcosmic level, like the internal dialogue that you might have, like, oh, my higher voice isn't being heard?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's your, you know, when you're looking at your Gemini energy, that's Mercury, that's running that Gemini gate. It's the, you know, it's the feet, man. You know, you know,
Yeah.
it's all the messengers. It's the messages that go up and down your, you know, in your nervous system, man, that are pulsating, that are firing, you know. So you're getting the messages and the, you know, and then once you get the messages, you can get them from your ancestors, you can get them from, you know, your ancestral aspect, your higher self, the higher force, whatever. But it's taking those messages and being again, going back to your confidence, being able then to communicate that, right, from your galactic center, from your Neptune energies, and being able to bring that into communication. Also, remember, Virgo is the gate of logic and reason. So it's opposite of your intuition and your psychic abilities and your imagination. So you're trying to bring all that energy across the 612 axis, from the 12th, you know, from the 12th gate to the 6th gate, and then communicate that logically, you know, so people can understand what the hell you're saying.
That makes a shitload of sense, man. Yeah, and I have had my struggles.
And that's where the struggle is trying to find the words and the logic and the reasoning behind what you're seeing and experiencing and tapping into on your galactic quantum level, and bringing that all the way across so that you could communicate it. That's your Mercury, and then setting in 11th house. So that's, you know, that's a very high level of mental activity. See,
I'm glad I have an Aquarian mind with that moon.
and that Aquarian mind is right, because then it's like, oh man, you know, it's like you could be sitting there just playing solitaire on the computer. The next thing you know, man, this epiphany happens in your brain, in your mind, and you're just like going, what the hell was that?
I've been there. Like old school,
You know?
like the only game available on your computer is solitaire. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You know?
Okay, man.
So you're just like, oh my God, what did I just pick up on? You know? Crazy stuff, huh?
High mental plane drifter.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Clint Eastwood at his finest. Okay. Chiron and Gemini, the gift. Your healing journey involves learning to speak the truth, and your gift is to share your unique perspective with others. Stop worrying about what other people think and turn inwards to tune into your intuition. This will help you to recognize your unique genius and find your particular area of expertise and understanding. Recognize and embrace your intelligence in whatever form it takes. You may have mediumistic or prophetic gifts, or express yourself better through nonverbal means of communication, such as art or music. You can also express emotions and feelings clearly in words, and may be able to give expression to other dimensions of reality. You have a creative mind rich with brilliance and originality that you can use to heal others. So yeah, thinking about this in context, I mean, also your writing abilities. Gemini is the great pen to paper gift.
Oh, wow,
And
okay.
whenever you have that third house, right? You get that third house setting there, that's you got your Neptune sitting in that third house to put the pen to the paper. And then also when you're looking at that, your south node, because your north node is also setting in Gemini, see? And that's setting at 21 degrees. So it's setting in the 8th house as well, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So your Gemini sitting in the 8th house of transformative aspect, right? So you really do have I would say like your how you're seen and how you would want to be seen by other people is Gemini in Scorpio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, leveling up the communicative aspect and then bringing that aspect of Gemini online where you're communicating on higher levels of imaginatory power and transformative aspects that are going to bring life to other people, man, and so it's just gonna level up from here, with when you start accessing and activating that North Star where you're navigating towards, and and then also, man, getting involved, man, with your community. I mean, putting yourself in the position where, you know, you become a Johnny Appleseed, man. You're just dropping seeds, you know,
Yes.
in your community, you're just dropping seeds all around, that's also that third house, man, or Gemini energy as well.
Oh, yeah. I do
Yeah.
get along great with folks in the community. I'm kind of at this little, seashore town in south of the Mediterranean Sea. Like, I go to farmers markets, like I I can have one exchange with these people and they'll remember me like every single time. Like, I'm kind of, yeah, just easygoing and like able to connect with a lot of people on whatever kind of grounds that they're on. Just try to find common
Well, you're a
ground. So,
natural collaborator, man, with your moon in Aquarius.
yeah, and that's what I've
You're
been
you're
seeing. Like,
you're
wow, like,
yeah,
yeah,
you
man,
really
like,
have a good collaborational mind, for networking, for putting things together, you get your cardinal energy, is really, if you look at, you've got that Libra cardinal energy, man, to initiate relationships. And also, that's an air element as well. So your communication in context to that, when you're in balance and harmony, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you, man.
yeah. And how do you see that? With that, the wind element, being able to communicate properly through the wind pipes and all that stuff. Like, just like going off these trains of thoughts and the metaphors and all that, it really lights me up, and I'm just like, yeah, it just pumps me up. Just get that self-perpetuated life force energy and just go from there, kind of thing.
Well, Gemini is a mutable sign. So when you're looking at the mutable aspect of Gemini and communication,
What does that
one of
mean
the things
exactly?
mutable,
Mutable,
that
like,
means that means that you can, you move easy. You're not like, you're not stuck in one position.
oh, okay.
You're mutable, man. You can
Hmm.
sidestep things, words that are coming at you, you can move to the side and they go by you, that type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when you're looking at a mutable energy, also part of the mastering or the idea of mastering communication and mastering verbal skills is to be able to know where the consciousness of the person that you're talking to is and being able to gauge that
Boom.
by what they're speaking and saying, see?
And
And then being able to formulate the correct level of consciousness when you're communicating back so they can understand you. See, that is a challenge, but it's also a skill.
Fuck yeah. And that was
Yeah.
really skillfully articulated. I love how you put that together. And for me, like, just the whole time you were saying that, I had in my mind, like, this is like, mastering the law of persuasion type of thing.
Right, exactly. And then being able to formulate the correct, word structures and sentences that are going to have an impact on that person and spark their interest about what you're speaking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's a level that most people don't know how to master.
Mm,
They stay in because they have so much fixed energy. They think that, they need to catch up with me where I'm at, Well, that's not how it really works because they're not where you're at.
yeah.
So you've got to, and you're not trying to dumb down your speech. You're just formulating the words in a different arrangement by mastering the verbal navigation of what you're speaking to another person, engaging where their consciousness is.
Like to demystify and make it more and simplify.
More layman's terms. Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's your Mercury energy, and it's setting there in that Virgo of logic and reason, and it's very ceremonial as well in context. I mean, the Virgo gate is a very ceremonial gate as far as I'm concerned as well, and with your Venus setting there, that's very powerful because you can collaborate relationships to ceremony and ritual very easily, bring people together to a drumming circle, bring people together to a collaboration of Maybom or some type of ceremony of the solstice or the equinoxes and that type of stuff, and gather people, especially with your 11th house, your Aquarian moon, gather people together to do something that's going to collaborate to bring a change to the reality field.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. That's your gifting. That's where your positive aspect is of your life, and then, but you've got to be able to find the confidence to do it. And then being very focused on your intent, not being double-minded, but once you make up your mind to do something, then you just do it, man. You just jam into it, man. And you just focus on it. And it's like, you activate your wand of fire, and it's like that sword just cutting through everything, man. That sword element, that air element's cutting through all the bullshit. It's cutting through all the red tape, man. And then you're able then to really focus that, and ignite that wand of fire, use those cups, use that emotional frequency to push things through in context to bring the manifestation into the reality field itself.
Yeah, love it. Good
So
question.
it's very powerful. I mean, a lot of your earth energy is setting in Mercury, setting in Venus, in context of Virgo. That's where your earth, that's where your grounding is going to be. And then your second house, man, sitting over here, your Jupiter, is your financial aspect as well, looking at it from your second house. So activating your Jupiter is going to be very, very favorable for you financially.
Cool.
So just side
We all
note.
like money, or I guess,
Yeah.
to deal with the bankster, wankster, pranksters, but
Well, yeah, that's all
that mon
bullshit though.
eye, like the true
That
one
that
eye type of shit.
yeah, that
But
the bankster shit, man. I call them the bankster gangsters, I mean, they are literally high level gangsters, man. That's what they are,
yeah,
and then they want to they want to chop down their competition, you know.
yeah, for sure.
So that's all government is, man. It's just a big mafia.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Makes laws and rules for people to live by that benefit them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what government is, man. It's a big fucking club, man, and you're not in it, like George Carlin says.
Yeah, yo.
I
I
don't
don't know if
want
you
to. I
want
don't
to
want to
go
be
in.
I don't want to be in your fucking club.
Mhm.
Okay, let's look at your transits here. Okay. This is, see if there's anything going on here. we can look at. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, let's see here. All right, so your moon basically is getting transited right now. You just had the sun transit your moon right here, energy. There's the sun. There's your moon. Man, I feel for you, dude. I really do.
Oh shit.
So we've got Pluto right now, at 0 degrees Aquarius, and over the next 3 years, you're gonna have a major mind transformation, man.
Oh shit.
Pluto's coming into transit your moon, your mind, your navigation. So the next 3 years are going to be, because you're right now you're at a 6 degree conjunction with Pluto with your moon. So over the next 3 years, man, you're gonna have, I mean, everything that you thought you knew is all going to level up. I mean, it's really going to have a transformative aspect to how you navigate and how you see things with your eye, with your third eye. Uh, with that Aquarian energy, man, with your moon and with this Plutonian energy, you can expect some power manifestations to come into your life as well. Very powerful aspects that could take place, because Pluto will be transiting or it is transiting right now, your fourth house. Whew. I know Pluto's transiting my fourth house too, man. So this is very, very transformative, man, to your moon energy. A lot of psychological purging going on. Especially with the conjunction you'll have with your moon coming up the next 3 years. You're going to your mind is really going to transform, man. You're going to become a whole different version of yourself fast, on rapid fire. And it really is going to be very powerful for you to work out this opposition with your Mars energy now, because that what you're going to put into action, what you're passionate about, then needs to really become forefront. And just watch the flanks, man. Watch it. Watch the idea of when things become really, like, think about it like this. You're got a boat, you got a ship on the ocean, right? And you got the sails, and so you're trying to navigate the wind, the air element, your mind, your thoughts, right? And you're on that sail, and you're in the ship, and you're trying to navigate it, and all of a sudden the wind shifts. This is what Pluto does, man. The wind changes course, and you can't move the sails fast enough to catch that wind. So what does it do? It tosses your boat,
and it gets disoriented or whatever,
Right.
right?
The sea spray comes in your eyes. You're trying to navigate the boat, and it's like, oh my God, this is that fourth house, man. See, this is how you master navigation. Pluto is getting ready to give you a big schooling on mastering your moon.
Wow, because fourth house is like, foundation, family.
It's your and it's also your initiatory aspect to your moon energy. It is the temple. It is the high priestess card in the tarot.
Ooh. Oh wow.
Yeah. So when you're looking at your moon energy, you're dealing with your third eye, how you're navigating. And so leveling up your first eye becomes very important, because you're bridging the raw, which is your first eye, and your third eye, which is Horus. You're bridging those two energy systems together, and then when you speak, it becomes much more powerful, because now you've bridged those two energy systems together, And now what you speak then become, because you got that ninth house, right? Sitting on your north node right there, man. And that ninth house, then what you speak starts to happen, dude. It starts to manifest right in front of your eyes. And then with, with that aspect, man, your fire magic then comes online, and that's how you're activating your Jupiter. So your Jupiter is activated by gravitating towards your north node, because your ninth house is setting there behind that Gemini energy.
Wow, yeah. That's
But
pretty
you got
confirming, man.
but you
And it's
got to
kind of like Logan Hart, he's got a lot of stuff that he's waiting to bust the chains open on his platform.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of the same on a couple other things, but also
Right.
I do recognize that I really got to purge some shit and like go through another kind of a serious alchemical transformation within myself before that can really initiate, I think.
Yeah, and that's part of this Pluto transiting your fourth house, man. It is a very psychological transformation, and when you're looking at your fourth house, your MC line is in Cancer, see? So this has everything to do with how you're going to bring in things into manifestation. Everything that you do in your private life matters. Everything that happens in your private life is like transferring to your public life,
Yeah,
because
I'm trying to walk the talk, whatever, right?
yeah, because your public life and your private life become congruent, and when that happens, your authentic self then is released. And that's where the authenticity, the more authentic you are, the more prosperity follows you.
Is that more like a definition of what a way shower is?
Yeah, because not only are you speaking it, but
Living
you're
example.
manifesting it.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world, man.
Mm.
It's not just empty words, you actually got something behind it.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. That's what a magician's all about. We're the sages and the mages, man. The mages and the sages. See? Sagittarius, Magitarius, Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We'll put the
that's the
mage
wand
in
of
the image.
fire, man. That's the ninth gate, man. That's the hermit, man, in context. If you
Mm.
really want to talk about it, I mean, that's the nine on the tarot, which is actually the 10th card. That's why I say that, a lot of times that the hermit is the Capricorn energy mastered. You're mastered your Saturn energy.
It makes sense because what is he standing on? The
On
summits.
the mountain of Capricorn, man.
Yeah.
He's the goat. Yeah.
And yeah, for
That is Jupiter in context. If you really want to think about it, you're
oh yeah,
activated your Jupiter to master
yeah,
your 10th house, man.
because he had to
But to
travel to
do,
get up that high, right? Also.
yeah, but to do that, man, your seventh gate has to open, and that's Libra.
Mm.
You're never going to get transformation until you find the balance with your moon. And then that's where you get your star core activation. And then that's your ninth house. That's why the 7 is the 9, because the 7 and the 9 are congruent with each other. You can't get to the 9 without your 7.
Mm.
And you got to go through the 8th of Scorpio. You got to go through the transformative aspect to get there. And then that then brings your earth magic on to manifest into the reality field. Then the 11th gate becomes the air magician, putting all the blueprints, everything that you're looking at, and then actually putting all the nuts and bolts together to put a project, humanitarian project out that's going to change the world. So
Let's fucking do it,
that's how it works, man. That's really your major transit, man, coming up over the next, long term. That's
So
going on right
interesting.
now, man, that you're having. You're going to have some stuff move through here. Mercury, Mars, Venus is all going to move through your moon here too, as well. Over
Okay,
the
yeah, they're
next,
all lined up.
yeah, over the next, month or so. You're going to have, your communication with your moon energy is going to be leveled up, because, Mercury will be transiting. Your Mars energy will be transiting as well to your moon, and then your Venus. And then those will move out a month or so after they move through that Aquarian gate into Pisces. So yeah, that's basically, I mean, as far as long term, that's basically what's going on right now. So, any questions, man?
Yeah. Going back to Chiron. Um, and I love this of trying to like just brush. I always like to brush up, at least, watch a video before, coming on with
Oh, sure.
guests and people that I'm going to speak to. Um, how fitting was it that I chose the video of I forget how you titled it. It's something along the lines of the gift of Chiron is that Jupiter activation. And to
Right.
me, like, kind of ears perking up, like, oh yeah, Jupiter, and I got Sagittarius and the South Node and all that. But it's a silly question, but I'm kind of curious as to with Chiron, like, how wounded is that healer, and why was Chiron wounded to begin with?
Chiron is teacher of the gods, man.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that in that show. I'll
Yeah.
put a link on that in this video.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so Chiron was wounded by accident.
Hmm.
Who was it that wounded him, man? It's been a while since I've studied on this. Had this in my brain forever. Pull it up at it, and I can't even remember it.
Yeah, you can always pass it to me later if you want to. But
Yeah. Anyway, he got wounded by Hercules, I think,
huh.
and the arrow was shot, and it was shot to his thigh, and so what happens? What is your thigh, man? It's your balance, where I mean, it's where you're finding your strength to move, right? So he couldn't move, and so the arrow was in there. Well, the wound wouldn't heal.
Huh.
Okay, he couldn't get the wound to heal, even though he was immortal. He couldn't get it to heal, and so basically, he went through all this process trying to get it healed, and he couldn't get it healed until he finally just let it go, and he gave up on, he like stopped trying to put his consciousness on it, and he went ahead and passed. He died, but then in that death he became immortal to the stars, so he became a constellation of immortality, which was a higher level of immortality than he was, and so his wound became his gift. See?
Hmm.
So even though your wound is the area where your shadow aspects are, this is where your strengths are. And that's the lesson of Chiron. The lesson of Chiron is to understand and understand, you know, kind of where your limitations are, and then being able then to take those aspects of where your wounding is, and then you start to actually like transmute those woundings, not by putting your consciousness on those, but by putting your conscious on your navigation points to your Jupiter, and where your North Star is, and navigating to your North Star, navigating to your Jupiter aspect, right? And then being able to realize that your giftings is sitting in that wound. I always equate it to, when a warrior has a wound and they bandage the wound, right? And then they bandage that wound up really good, and and then they take care of it, and they bandage it again. They take all those rags after it's healed, it has a scar, and they use those rags around the torch or their wand of fire, and they light it.
Oh yeah.
And that's their navigation. That's their gift now to their wand of fire or their Jupiter aspect. And all those
Wow.
bloodied rags become their gift
Wow.
to seeing and navigation.
That's it. Yeah, that's a beautiful metaphor. At the same time,
Yeah.
story. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, in relation to Chiron, like, uh, what's the deal with the 13th gate? Because that's not really mentioned much at all in mainstream.
Ophiuchus, yeah.
Yeah, Ophiuchus, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ophiuchus is kind of the symbol is Asclepius. So that's running to the another healing aspect. But that's the Ophiuchus is kind of like the Dragon Gate, man. I mean, it's the 13th gate. It's the gate of the dragon lines, man. And bringing healing the dragon energy with the wand of Eclipus, which is actually the single snake going up the wand. You know, not the double snake like
Right.
they show here,
Like the
you
Caduceus or
know,
whatever.
to the caduceus, but it's the single snake, man, going up the wand in context to the serpent of wisdom, you know, and learning how to create the better versions of yourself through the healing process and shedding the snake skin to recreate a new healing, powerful you in context to the dragon energy that you carry, which is, you know, which when you realize that dragon energy in the alchemical process runs with the phoenix energy. So when you put those together, what do you have? You have the fire, the calcination of the dragon, and then you've got the rising out of what's been burnt by the ashes of the dragon to the phoenix of a rebirth of a new who you are coagulation.
Beautiful.
That's the ficus.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was always interested because you've heard about the whole 13 month calendar, right? That
Oh,
kind of
the like
follows the lunar
the lunar
cycles.
calendar. Yeah, right.
And that was also the Mayan calendar, I want to say, that a 13-month thing.
You know, I'm not familiar. I'm not that privy to the Mayan aspect
Yeah, but
of
no
the
worries.
calendar,
I
but
mean,
it could be running. You know, I saw a video the other day, man, that they
oh yeah.
said that there was something in the Mayan ruins that they found, and then the calendar that ended on 2012 pointed to another place where the Mayans were set up in the Grand Canyon.
Huh.
And they found this place in the Grand Canyon, this little hole, and they went in, and there's all these Mayan artifacts and a new calendar that started in 2012.
No shit. Wow, man.
And I'm like shaking my head, going, "What the fuck?" Right?
Wow.
So it was like, wow, man, and it predicted like 2020 and all the stuff that happened and like all that shit.
Damn, no shit. Wow. I visited the
Yeah.
Grand Canyon for the first time last year, actually, but that's funny.
There's all kinds of shit in the Grand Canyon, man. I guess it's like Egypt, man, or like, you know, like part of Kemet at one time or something, man. It's like all
Huh.
this. There's like Chinese stuff there and Japanese stuff there and all these different cultures that are actually been found in the Grand Canyon, man. Like, how did all the
Insane,
world
yeah.
get into all that? You know?
Is it like some kind of anomaly vortex of the ley lines over there or something? But what?
Well, I just think at one time when we had Pangea, man, and everything was connected. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at it, it's the 33rd parallel.
Oh
Or
shit.
close to it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
That brings up a really good point. And the reason I was over there is I was visiting a great friend and mentor, Maria West. And I was on the phone with her just the other day, and she was talking about how according to your birth chart, natal chart, whatever, there's what about like the ley lines that we're currently on, and how do those correspond with like the overall, you know, reality of energies, I guess in a sense. And like
You know,
she
I
was saying,
haven't
like
really.
she was in San Francisco, she was not supposed to be there at a certain type of thing, or it did not correspond to where she was supposed to be or something like that. Does that Have you heard anything like that? Does that make sense?
I just know that a lot of these like ancient sites and megaliths and all these places where they've where you know where all the ancients, and I believe that the ancients were us, have constructed all these flipping incredible structures, right? Are all on different like ley lines together, and
Mm.
they're all like connected on certain points that not only are magnetic in nature, but they're also like aligned with the solstices and the equinoxes, and like all this stuff is all aligned together. And there was some type of magnetic communication or networking with these pyramids that was going on. I mean, they're all over the planet. They're under the sea. They're in Antarctica. They're in flipping Egypt. They're in South America and Mesopotamia and Central America. I'm sure there's probably some in America here. So, you've got all this, there was all this like, and they're all on these certain ley lines and stuff. So yeah, there's this magnetic type of thing that's going on in context to communication and energy and vortexes that that are there. I was watching a video the other day about X points. Like there's these portals that are like, oh, that open and close around the Earth's atmosphere all the time and around the sun. And if somehow the ancients knew how to harness these portals to travel the worlds with their mind, and they don't need any ships. They don't need ships.
Yeah.
They travel the worlds through these portals or these X points through the sun gate and then literally out into the multiverse and travel and then come back. I mean, it's like I'm like, oh, they had this technology that we are just now discovering.
And at least like the gnosis to follow those.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
So I guess what to reframe my question is that, like for me, hearing what my friend Mario said and relating that to my life in like taking what like the magnetism of certain things, I really felt, and it might play into, my genetics and heritage. I'm European descendant and I've been living in France for like 14 years, originally from California. But I've had like this magnetic pull to, like be living on this old continent. And I've traveled around quite a bit. With my ex-wife, we traveled the world. It was great. That falls into, what you mentioned earlier. And there's been certain places that I passed, including in Brittany region in France, that includes certain megalithic structures like the site in Karnak with all the dolmens and those,
Yeah.
big old slabs,
Oh,
kilometers
yeah.
long, going into the sea, even on all this shit.
Wow.
I've been visiting there. I went there twice at least, and just like being in certain areas, I feel like these ancient energies, and it's just, yeah,
I
it's hard
think
for me
you
to
I think you
articulate that
may
or
I think you might have a lot of Cather soul genetics, man.
huh.
In context of southern France and that whole area down there
Hmm.
where you're being drawn to with your, with your genetics, man, your soul genetics. And
Yeah.
you may be kind of going through, kind of going back into that to ignite some of that, man, within you.
Hmm.
Have you studied the Cathars much?
Not as much as I should, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Well,
there's a
go.
reason why there's a word people say called cathartic, right? So,
Yeah, right.
and in the
Yeah,
massacre of them, yeah, for sure.
yeah, right.
There's a lot of,
Exactly, man. Because
mm,
I mean, they were massacred as well.
fuck yeah.
So when you're looking at, how, I mean, the parasite or the Abrahamic constructs with the parasite, you know, that's one of the worst things that's ever been unleashed on our people, man.
Yeah, yeah. And
You
I've,
know?
in this lifetime, which you touched on earlier, of, kind of my certain dispositions, whatever, but I felt like, yeah, past lives I have been kind of not crucified, but kind of
Yeah.
betrayed or whatever, delusion or, completely manipulated because of religion. Because I have a good amount of distaste for that in this lifetime, like ever since I was young, in a sense
Yeah,
of
no
just like,
kidding.
not feeling it at all. Luckily, my parents weren't about that. And they raised me all right. They didn't have like a really solid structure, but everyone's living in the matrix and doing their thing. So yeah, kind of that latchkey kid generation to a degree, but yeah, just as far as like a solid foundation based off of eternal principles, right? As we talked
Yeah,
about in Dissolving the Divide with Leslie and all
right.
that.
Right.
Yeah, it's just lacking in so many households, unfortunately. But like who would wonder? They're not teaching the Kabbalion like a lot of other literatures in schools or whatever, and Hermetic principles beyond that, and cosmic law, and true morality, and all that stuff, and in true like astrology and navigating your inner worlds, as you're teaching me right now, brother. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that's been, been lost. It's been taken out on purpose,
of course.
all the way down the line to genetic modification of the human
Mm,
race. So, I mean, we're trying to rediscover our roots again, And there are those who are on that journey, and that's part of probably why you are where you're at and what you're trying to do as well. Rediscover who you are through your, through your not only your soul code genetics, but your bloodline as well, man. I mean, I have a lot of bloodline that goes back to the Templars,
Oh wow.
and the branch, the Red Branch Knights of Ireland as well. So I have a lot of that I have. The Templars, their original goal was to acquire the Grail of Consciousness. And and then they got hijacked by the Vatican at some point, where they became the quote unquote
Mercenaries or whatever.
executioners or mercenaries of the Vatican, of Vatican's of bullshit, word, so they carried out the command of the Vatican as though that is, God on earth, or we are representing God on earth, or whatever bullshit they want to fucking say.
Yeah.
But like anything else, it got hijacked as well. So
Like a lot of holidays and yeah, the celebrations of like what was it just the other day? Mid-winter.
oh, embolic, yeah,
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 yeah.
February 1st, yeah, it was just 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm. And then next month we're gonna have a St. Patty's Day, but St. Patrick was, one of those assassin mercenaries of the Black Pope bullshit that
Yeah, the day that
slaughtered how many people?
the snakes were uh left Ireland or whatever. He
Hmm.
routed the snakes out of Ireland or some bullshit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know why anybody would celebrate St. Patrick's Day, other than you just don't know what the hell you're doing.
yeah, but that's just yeah,
You
those
just don't know.
inversions.
You just, you're just taking the mainstream narrative of things.
Yeah, I'm
So
looking to
actually
have someone
looking
on
into
our
it,
show for that. Yeah, that'd be a good
you
show.
know, I mean, they basically, slaughtered the Druids, man. You know, I even had people like,
Yeah.
back when I was in the Christian realm, I'd be like, well, where are you from? Well, you're English. Oh, that means you got Druid blood. That means you're cursed. We've got to break those generational curses. I mean, hear that shit all the time, man. All
Really?
that. Oh yeah, dude. Christian realms. Fuck
What?
yeah. No, fuck yeah, man. You wouldn't
Oh
believe this shit.
gosh.
You wouldn't believe it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, there's such a indoctrination against like the original pagan
Oh yeah,
teaching,
like the Druids
Druidic
and
and
pagans. All they did was sacrifice children all day and drink babies' blood. Like that kind of shit. They don't have any idea what the Druidic tribes you can get, and the Tuatha and all that. They don't even know, because they haven't even looked into it. They're just told what they're just, you know throwing up what they've been told by someone who threw up on them,
fuck yeah, man.
basically.
You remember the movie Willow?
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, you had to have. It's one of the little. He's like a dwarf guy, and he's trying to be a magician, and he literally says Tuatha, Tuatha, like
Oh,
in
really?
these like ritualistic, mantras to conjure some kind of magic through his little wand and this and that. It's a
Right.
really cool 80s or early 90s movie. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's got some pretty cool allegorical stuff in there, and just like yeah, reminiscent of
Yeah,
some
that's cool.
medieval type of magicianal Magellan possibly type of. Well, yeah, not that far, but
Nice.
yeah. But anyways, man. Did I have any other questions? I always got questions, but yeah, we're kind of drifting away from the whole. So, like, as far as do you get this question? Like, if you were on the street, talking to someone and trying to persuade or like give someone an insight as to how powerful, your services can, or just like any kind of, science of these astrological gnosis or whatever, like, what would be kind of like your approach or whatever? Obviously, you might take it as a, you know, individual level, but Do you get that a lot sometimes, or?
Well, I guess it just depends on the person I'm talking to, you know. There's a lot of people that are always interested in it. I mean, I'm, being a Libra ascendant as well. And then I have quite a bit of cardinal energy in certain areas. I can initiate conversation pretty easily. I think that a lot of times when people I can get their interest peaked. But it's, again, you're just dropping the seeds, so it's up to them to, take the seeds and plant them and, hit you back up or whatever. I mean, I have done some local stuff, local readings and stuff too, well, just
Cool.
talking to people, that type of thing. But I think it's just a matter of, again, being able to, speak in a way that they can understand and then pique a person's interest in what you're talking about. Um, because, they know that you know more than they do, you know, basically, you know. So I'm always the type of person, man, that if I don't know how to do something, I just find somebody who does, because I haven't, they've mastered it or they're good at it. So, so you give them the reins, in trust to, come in and do your plumbing or, whatever,
Yeah.
you know. So if I need a reading, I go to somebody who I know does readings well, because I'm not going to do my own reading. So that's how I navigate things. Yeah.
Right on. That's cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm kind of getting into my dissolving the divide mode and all that with these questions, but I'm just really curious. When it comes to like anyone, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but people kind of criticizing, or you come up to resistant people like, oh, astrology, that's just like woo woo, horoscope, blah, fucking blah, or whatever. Like, are you able to regain any kind of, or throw any, get that seed planted in some way, somehow through them magical
There's a lot of people who
ways?
are
Or...
like, they're like, especially if they're Christians or whatever, they're like, they think astrology is evil, but I tell them to look at their Bible. Go look at the Bible. I mean, it's full of astrology,
Mm.
from start to finish. I mean, just look at the whole Moses thing, man. That he goes up on top of the mountain, you know, and then he comes back down and they got this calf or this bull they're worshiping. Well, it's the age of Taurus, and the age is changing,
Mm.
and so it's just depicting a change of the age from Taurus to Aries. That's all it's doing. The
Oh,
Abraham
Jesus
and the
Christ.
ram, all, see what I'm saying? I mean, all of that is, you know, their ages. So you got to look at things in context to the bigger picture, the ages that things are being presented in,
Yeah, I agree.
So it's the same thing, man. I mean, when people start to see this, just because they've been eclipsed, their mind has been eclipsed. They can't think outside of the box. So they're programmed to think within the box or the cube construct,
Mm.
and then that's where they're charged and polarized. So once you get out of that, you break the tesseract, man, you
Damn.
unlock it, dismantle it. Then you can step out into the arts of gnosis and realize that everything's energy and everything is there to show you who you are. And so when you got cognitive dissonance hitting, I just pull back, because there's no reason, because they're coming up against their own wall. Literally. They're just like banging up against the side of the cube,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what they're doing.
Yeah, well
So just
said.
let them keep banging their head, man, because they're not going to hear anyway until they actually, have some type of question that they have within themselves.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I feel you.
yeah.
What's your views on Vedic astrology?
I like Vedic astrology. I don't study it. But again, it's just like any other arts of gnosis. you take it and you take what resonates, and then what doesn't resonate, you put it on the shelf or whatever. And if it comes back up for review, and then you can look at it and it fits in the tapestry or the puzzle, then you grab that piece and put it in. That's how I view, all these different, astrology modalities, man. They all have their place, man. Every part of it. I don't judge the gnosis, because every system has something that you can glean from, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Vedic astrology is the same thing. I mean, I know a lot of purist Vedic astrologists that are like, the Western astrology is bullshit. And so they won't even look into it or even consider it as a viable art of gnosis. But most Western astrologers don't see Vedic that way. It's kind of weird, man. People who are I noticed that people who are more Vedic, they tend to have this this block with Western astrology, man. And then I always ask them, well, have you looked into Mayan astrology? I mean, that's really cool too.
Yeah.
And they don't even look into that, they don't even look into, any of that. So I don't know, man. I think you need to learn. I've had a Vedic reading done, so I mean, I am open to all the arts of gnosis. Anything that I can use to find out more about myself.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I have a funny question. I'm gonna put that to a side, but yeah, and like I love hearing everything you had to say. It was really confirming it, especially like I'm not looking of what to expect in the future, and these things don't really try to ventilate any kind of gassing up of the ego, whatever type of shit, whatever. But yeah, just looking over my life, in the past, and what you've mentioned, like it's been pretty fucking spot on the whole way through, like very confirming, and
Right.
yeah,
Good.
it's spoken in a different way, of course, and people really gotta, and I still need to like understand the astrology a lot more, especially with the gates and the houses and all that stuff. But yeah, it just speaks to the soul on a lot of levels.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lifelong, learning process, man. It's just you don't ever know everything. So, but you just continue to learn, continue to grow. Some people I have a knack for it. Some people do, so. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I like to get into people's charts and look at them, break it down. I use a lot of intuition though too. So
yeah, and yeah, I love that
yeah,
aspect
yeah.
as well, especially through your research and years of just going through your own self initiations and
Oh
all
my
that.
God, yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's the thing that people don't realize. The teacher is being taught as well as students being taught. Teachers going through initiation too, so the people forget that. So
Yeah, that's great,
well, I
Rodney.
got to run, man. I
Yeah,
got
totally. I didn't want to.
you
Yeah,
gotta.
I'm not clinging on to.
Oh no, it's good. You're good, man. It's all good. Yeah, I got to go help a buddy put up some drywall, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love them odd
Not
jobs.
really wanting
Just
to do
helping out
that,
the
but
brothers or whatever.
but
But
I will. I'll go
even
help
if you
them
don't
out a
want to
little
do it,
bit.
but
Feel like doing it, but it's okay.
yeah, but oh. Yeah, Rodney, fucking yeah, much love and so much respect, and much thanks and praise to you and your works, and yeah, just doing a reading for me for the first time, and yeah, it's
Awesome, man. I enjoyed it. It's great.
totally,
We'll
yeah,
have to
very
do
powerful, man.
another segment one of these days too.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, and I'm really interested on your other services, and as far as like what you've gone over, just like in a nutshell, if you want to just give me some life advice, if you will, and also any suggestions towards the next step of your what the types of services you have to offer.
Well, I do have a reading called Saturn Through the Gates. That's very powerful.
Oh yeah.
it kind of touches on how where you're limited on your turning energy through the gates of the wheel, and how each one of those affect your life. And then also I'm gearing up on doing a Jupiter activation galactic sensor reading, which will be probably coming out here probably in the spring, that people could tap into and sign up for.
Didn't you call like Jupiter the son of Saturn in one of your segments?
Yeah, Jupiter is the son of Saturn.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a cool wrapper, if you will.
But Jupiter was taught by Chiron.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of malefic aspects to Saturn in context of the mythos, but you know, when you look at Saturn in context, you try to look at Saturn in context to your lessons, and resolving your ignorance, and then, you know, tapping into the cosmic principle. That's how I see it. You know, I mean, Saturn is malefic in context to, you know, certain things, when you look at the black sun and cube technology and all that, but
yeah, of course.
the cube is neutral in context. It should be. I mean, you know, I mean, even if you look at everything, it's all like cubed and boxed, but even the Yggdrasil, when you look at it, it's like a cube, you know, it's like a box. But to take that and then invert the energies, that's what's happened.
Yeah, the
And
Metatron
a lot of
reversals.
a lot of things are on reversals. So, you know, so you got to learn how to flip the magnet on those and bring it into a space where, you know, it's working for you, you know. So I got that going on, and you know, I'm just going to continue on with my readings, man. You know, I mean, your Pluto transit, man, it's pretty powerful. You're going to have a lot of transformative aspects over the next 3 years. And I would say the biggest advice I have to you is don't be too hard on yourself, man. Trying to get through things, and hold patience for yourself, in your internal dialogue, because you don't always get it the first time, dude. You know, I mean,
I usually don't, but yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to hold that patience for yourself to go around the mountain again to find the exit sign, you know. So, you know, so my advice would be, you know, hold patience for yourself, man. Especially with Pluto transiting your 4th house and then coming transiting your moon over the next 3 years. Yeah, just be patient with yourself.
It'll be a slow transit then.
Very slow and grinding, man.
Right on, brother. Well, Rodney,
Yeah.
I'll let you go. If you have anything else you want to say, you know, mention, you know, drop your information, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's
Notes,
it. If you
but
want to
yeah.
get a hold of me, hardcoreproductions9@gmail.com. You can put my link tree in the description below. And yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me. I don't just do astrology. I also read runes, I read tarot. I do what's called counseling as well, transit readings. And then I can also get into, you know, helping a person out with, you know, getting through relationships, what they call composite charts, or oh, there's another word for it. I always forget it. I can't remember the word, but 2 charts come together as one. So if you're looking at a partnership or a relationship, to marriage or that type of thing, I can always put the 2 charts together and give you a reading of the energy of these 2 things coming together.
Wow, yeah.
So yeah, I got a lot of services, man. You can go to my website, heartcoreproductions.com, and check it out as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, great work, brother. Yeah. I really love what you got going on, and wish you all the best.
You too, man. You're doing great. You too, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. Bon courage, and yeah, much appreciation for everything you done for me, man. Shit, what I was gonna say, but we'll be in touch nonetheless. And
okay, man, sounds good.
Yeah, take it easy, brother.
Okay.
Bonjour. All right, so really hope you guys found some value in, following this reading that I had, and yeah, just to give a quick little afterthought about it, and just to let y'all know that hey, you might have seen me, a little over enthusiastic during the reading, and I don't know, for me, even when I do podcasts and talk with people, even in real life, you get that kind of like energetic buzz, especially when you're talking about really profound things. And yeah, when you start to hear confirmations and just things that align so much with what you feel deep inside yourself, whether it applies to your own life specifically or just, in general. Right? So yeah, I really try to view these things, even like if they're positive, just how to wield my magic towards really, attaining what my life path has kind of laid out before me astrologically in this, blueprint type of thing, So yeah, it's actually very humbling to, have this type of interaction and insights about my own life and, placement and all that stuff. So yeah, the fact that I mean, there's been a lot of confirmations just, uniquely with this reading with Rodney in and of itself, but also just what I've had in a previous reading with Seth Exposa during his initiation rites full package deal, which is really cool. You can check that out on Black Earth Productions. But yeah, check out Rodney's work. I'm leaving all the links there, of course, and we've done quite a few. There's like 6 hours of discussion material between him, Leslie, and myself on Dissolving the Divide. And yeah, you'll see that it's pretty cool, that interaction, because we're all Libra ascendants. So yeah, there's just been some really cool synchronicities with how my life's folded out, and seeing a lot of signs along the way that have just been, I guess, affirmative and encouraging, right? And so yeah, having this reading was really meaningful to me, and I really appreciate Rodney so much, because yeah, I've been kind of having to get over the hump of some heartbreaking things that have happened in my life. Losing my mother last year. It was recently her 1 year anniversary since that happened, and during that time, went through relationship issues, but yeah, I've been able to bounce back, alchemize, and stay on track, on path, and still aligned to cosmic law, and understanding the it's really interesting, the whole karmic relationship side with my placement and all that stuff. Yeah, I can definitely see that, and that's why I've really been trying to honor the feminine in so many ways, and being careful with how I treat women, especially the ones that I love. And even if we're not together anymore, I still carry, profound admiration for them as individuals, and just for the love that we shared, and knowing that there's so much that I learned and grew from each interaction. So yeah, voila. Not to make this a 3-hour long video, but yeah, so thank you all for tuning in. If you're in a spot where you're not quite sure about yourself, you're not able to really nail down your purpose in life, this is so powerful to inquire about. So yeah, I highly recommend hitting up Rodney. So yeah, and no, I'm not getting money out of this or whatever, it's just I love holding my friends large, and I want to see people succeed. I'm in it for the win-win, and I don't have the monetary motivation behind what I do. It's doing YouTube videos for over 10 years, not making any money from it should explain itself. But so, yeah. Until then, stay aligned to the divine, and yeah, thank you for checking this out. Ciao.
I encourage people to take you up on those opportunities.
Absolutely. So yeah, much love, everybody. Thank you. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, much love.
Yeah, thank you, Rodney. We'll see you later. Thank you, Derek.
Okay.
Every 2,000 years, the constellations change shift. We are moving into the age of Aquarius. The sign of peace. Fill the book of life with knowledge of masters beyond the ages. The dawning of Aquarius phases. A tribe of Aquarius.